I want to ask you, if people having heard and watched your impeachment trial and presentation continue believing that, how do you think we can ever reach Trump supporters if that's even possible?
Right. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. I had a conversation with someone today about a a scientist, an individual who's a scientist in Washington, who believes that President Biden and Vice President Harris really are not in Washington, that there's no one in the White House, and that
Oh
this
my.
is all, the government is being operated somewhere else. It was frightening. I was like, I was talking to her last week. She was talking about moving in
Oh
to
my
the vice
God.
president's residence. It's really very frightening. Um,
Um,
and so that information and misinformation and what is happening on social media is frightening to me. But what's also frightening is something that I talked about before the trial, that I'm seeing playing out is, how often people were saying, we should just let it go. It's over. It happened. He's not president anymore. Let's just move on. And I'm like, no, we have to hold people accountable. We have to have truth sayers. There needs to be, truth and reconciliation. You can't have reconciliation without the truth, without there being some justice involved here. And I think that the Senate letting him off the hook has allowed for this resurgence and the strength of the Jim Crow laws that we're seeing, where people are saying, oh no, there was election fraud and people stole the election, and that justifies us creating laws that are basically racist, that are keeping not just, it's not just against African Americans and people of color, but poor people, right? People who don't have access to polling places is making it more difficult. So it's class as well that are going to be cut off in our next election cycle. And so I've always thought, and I heard the phrase used like 2 weeks ago, that we are in a cold civil war as opposed to an active battle with guns civil war. That in the same way we had a Cold War with Russia, America is now in a Cold War with itself, a civil war, which is a war of ideology and a war of the direction of this country, the browning and the globalization and continuing to opening up this country and others who want it to remain a certain way. And we're seeing that in some of these laws that are coming forward. And I think because the president was not convicted, that has given them strength.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you're a congressman. You deal with so many people, from your constituents, just, your fans. And how do you talk with someone who disagrees with you? Just for our audience who, they may encounter a Trump supporter or someone who doubts the election. How do you even talk with them? And when you talk to a Trump supporter, how do you get across to them? And how do what happens when they have no factual predicate in their opinion?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because you're trying to present them with facts, and they're presenting you with TikTok and YouTube videos by individuals who, like, just think about COVID,
Yeah.
just thinking about vaccinations. I had a conversation with someone, and I know this may be a little mean on my part, who was like, they're going to take your DNA. If I give them the vaccine shot, they're going to take my DNA. And I was like, sweetheart, nobody wants your DNA. Okay? Nobody's interested in that. But those are the kinds of things that you're fighting on a regular basis
Right.
with people. And so I try and gauge, is this person really trying to learn? Are they really open to ideas? Or is this someone who's just wants to scream and preach at me, and make that because my time is valuable? And there are so many people who don't have information who want to know that I could be spending my time with,
Mhm.
as opposed to arguing with complete, utter ignorance that is unwilling to recognize that they're being ignorant.